The Embassy of the United States of America in Cairo celebrated the 238th anniversary of America's independence that occurred on July 4, 1776.
Ladies and gentlemen, our republic was founded on July 4th, 1776, with the adoption of the Declaration of Independence. Yet the history of our country and the evolution of our democracy has not followed a straight path. Rather, it has been a constant struggle and an evolving set of improvements. Political rights in the United States of the late 18th and early 19th centuries were the exclusive province of landholding white males. It took a bloody civil war and a concerted women's voting rights movement for our country to change those restrictions, and that was only the beginning.
Independence Day is the national day of the United States and is a federal holiday. It's commonly associated with parades, barbecues, fairs, concerts, baseball games, family reunions, political speeches and various other public and private events celebrating the nation's heritage, laws, traditions, society and people. Egyptian-US relations were the focus of the speech delivered by US Chargé d'Affaires in Cairo, Mark Sievers.
We appreciate the progress Egypt has made in restoring security and containing a sustained terrorist campaign aimed at destabilizing the country. As we watch the rise of extremist forces that pose a terrible threat to our friends and partners elsewhere in the region, I believe the United States has a stake in the success of Egypt's efforts to defeat terrorism here. Having had the privilege to serve here for the past 3 years through a period of profound and rapid change and turmoil in Egypt, I am deeply aware that our two governments have had their differences of late. Yet I am optimistic that through dialogue and sustained efforts to understand each other's points of view, we will overcome those differences. The United States and Egypt have enjoyed a strategic partnership during the past 35 years, a partnership that has benefited both countries immensely. And I know both countries value this relationship deeply. I believe that Americans and Egyptians alike want to see a successful, strong, prosperous, and democratic Egypt, which remains a key partner for the United States.
Over 1,800 guests, including ministers, diplomats, civil society representatives, leaders of Egypt's political parties, and US embassy officials attended the diplomatic reception.
I'd like to say congratulations for all the American citizens here in Cairo and all the citizens in the United States for the Independence Day. It's quite a pleasure and honor to attend this event. I'd like to enrich the relationship between Egypt and the United States of America in these days. We are going to a new history. Nowadays, Egypt undergoing a total reform. One of these reforms, I'm the Minister of Health now in the government, so I'm undergoing a health reform also. We emphasize quite the high-grade relationships between Egyptian citizens and American citizens in the United States of America.
I think we're opening a new page in this relationship. Of course, the relation after June 30 was not a very positive one. Recently, we saw Secretary of State John Kerry here in Egypt. He met with President Sisi, which is a very important recognition of the new order that existed, of the popular will that was expressed on June 30. And also we saw President Obama speaking to President Sisi for the first time since June 30 as well. But we hope to be able to overcome the obstacles that's been created over this past year, particularly in terms of the Congress suspension of the aid that's directed towards Egypt. I don't think it's a very positive message that the Senate has sent us by cutting around $400 million from the Egyptian annual aid. I was happy to see Mr. Kerry saying that the administration itself will speak to the Congress, will speak to the Senate to restore the economic aid fully, because this economic and military aid is tied to the Camp David Agreement, and it's very important for the stability of the region. I don't want the United States to interfere in Egypt's internal affairs. If they were about to give any advice, it should be in the framework of our long-standing relationship, but we are not going to accept anyone dictating what the Egyptian people, what the Egyptian government is going to do.
Sievers will be departing Egypt in August after 3 years, first as Deputy Chief of Mission, and then as Chargé d'Affaires.
I understand that you will be ending your term in Egypt very soon and that you served in Iraq, Israel and Algeria, and you're married to an Iraqi American. What is your impression about the Middle East following the Arab Spring, especially Iraq and Egypt?
Well, first I would say there was a great deal of optimism about the Arab Spring at the beginning, but as events have developed, it's become clear that the process is very complicated, and in some areas, such as Syria, very painful and very violent, which I think people didn't expect when the Arab Spring started. I think there's an enormous contrast between the situation in Egypt and Iraq, and I've worked in both. But I believe Egypt is well on its way to restoring its stability and security. Iraq faces many challenges, and it needs help. It needs help from us, and it needs help from its Arab neighbors, and I hope that we'll all come to Iraq's assistance.
Egypt has called for further activating a strategic dialogue between Cairo and Washington, which was accepted by the United States. Many analysts think that such an initiative is more important than ever to boost bilateral relations. Mona Sewilam, the US Embassy in Cairo, for Nile TV International.